Their offense is out of this world good. Um, for a
It's a
Mac
Mac
program,
team, Cody.
for a Mac program, they're sneaky good. They could have their hands full.
You willing to bet on Kent State to win that game right now?
No,
Okay.
I'm just saying. Like, I'm not gonna bet on Maryland to win
Okay.
either. Like,
All right.
I don't think Kent State is gonna win.
Hello and welcome back to the Fourth and Long-Winded Podcast, episode number 5. I think this is number 5. But this is going to be the Big Ten East State of the Conference. But Cody, how are you doing today?
I'm tired. I just got done doing yard work.
Yeah, you were telling me about that before we started. Doing some projects.
I hate yard work, man. So tiring.
So yeah, I said we're going to be talking about the Big Ten East today, and but first we'll talk about a few of the news items from this past week. First thing I got is the Big Ten has allowed schools to determine whether or not they want to have fans at the spring games coming up. I take that to mean there's going to be fans.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be fans. There's going to be like a max-size crowd at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like 20, 30,000 people, like a really, really good max-size crowd. And then we're going to have like Maryland. They're not going to allow people because no one's going to come anyways. And then Michigan, it might be up to the governor. And they might just say, maybe not. So I'm pretty excited to see what the crowds look like. Ohio State is either going to be a max size crowd or they're going to just fill the fucker. Like just 100,000 people. Mike DeWine hanging out in the press box, waving his little flag. I can see that happening.
That's great. I hope that happens.
Maybe
not, for health and safety reasons, but you know what? Whatever.
At this point.
Whatever. Next topic is I don't know if you saw this, the Oregon State president, F. King Alexander. First of all, if your name is F. King Alexander, what century are you living in?
Not this one.
Not this one.
And clearly
but,
of his decision making.
He was the former LSU president back in 2013 when the initial investigation into Les Miles and LSU happened. And he was fired amid backlash because of that has come out since Les Miles got fired and all of that. I don't really have any more comment about this. I mean, I think he probably, yeah.
Makes sense. Should have happened.
Yep. Finally, some good news. UNC, North Carolina, and Mac Brown have agreed on an extension. The deal now is going to be through 2025.
Our Carolina Blue Jesus here to lead us to the promised land.
Yep.
Go
Eagles.
Eagles.
It's a big season for him. I keep seeing them preseason ranked in the top 10, so we'll see.
I don't know how it happened, but I have become a massive Carolina fan.
I've noticed that.
I'm so excited for Mac Brown.
You're very quick to defend Mac Brown.
I'm a big Mac Brown fan. I am so excited to see what happens this year. I think that they have a solid chance at an ACC title this year.
All right, we'll see. All right, well that'll do it for the news of the week. So let's move into State of the Conference, Big Ten East.
All right. So like normal, I think we've kind of established that we're gonna run through starting with the bottom of the recruiting rankings and then work our way to the top of the division, right, Dan?
Sounds good for me.
All right. Well, so then our first team is the Indiana Hoosiers.
How about that? The two Indiana teams at the bottom of their divisions.
Yeah. I was honestly really surprised that Indiana was at the bottom of the East Division just based off how well they did this past year.
I think it says a lot about Tom Allen.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it says that really more than a recruiter, he is a talent builder. He makes people better. Yeah. And I think that will bode well in the future for recruiting. I think that if he gets maybe the right coordinators, recruiting coordinators in there. He's going to be able to develop very good talent it looks like he's gonna be there a while. But it
Yeah,
looks like
I
they
mean, I looked back at their history a little bit. IU before Tom Allen was hired had made 3 bowl games since the year 1994.
Jeez.
So they made 3 bowl games for as long as I had been alive. And then Tom Allen was hired, and they've made it twice in 4 years.
That's incredible.
They've had winning record the last 2 years. I think if this continues, and this past year is a sign of what's to come, and Tom Allen's going to start getting good recruits just because they're going to want to play for him because they're successful.
I could see Indiana being like a dark horse kind of 2015 Michigan State type team eventually. That team wasn't particularly highly recruited, or I mean, it had good recruits, don't get me wrong, but it was just a really solidly built team.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Maybe Indiana should just put all their focus on football because their basketball team.
Forget about basketball.
I mean, Purdue basically owns the state, so.
Yeah, right. That would help you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So they had 14 commits, 2 4-stars and 11 3-stars. And I guess that means that they have one I guess it's 1 2-star. 24/7 recruiting rankings doesn't list 2 stars. So I that would be my assumption. Maybe it's like a punter from Australia that's unranked or something like that. Nationally, they're ranked 54th. So the East is significantly better than the West. I mean, just starting out, your worst team is at least in the top 60.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. They're ranked 12th in the Big Ten. We touched a little bit on Tom Allen. So I actually think that their stadium is really nice. I think it's actually kind of I know it's nothing super to write home about, but it's better than a lot of stadiums in the country. It's big. When they can fill it, it's loud. And if they continue winning, they're going to fill it. Yeah. So I think that bodes well for them. I do, however, think that their football practice facilities need work. It's probably the worst, if not the second worst, in the Big Ten. They have a dedicated practice facility, but I can't find very much information on it. I don't even know if it has an indoor field. And like their weight room and their operations center is all based out of the stadium, which is kind of gives me a little bit of Mac vibes. Which I mean, I don't know. It like, if you're recruiting these big time talent kids, maybe that's the reason that Indiana is not getting the big time talent kids. They don't have these luxurious sports centers like Northwestern.
Yeah.
Northwestern has a better sports center than you.
Well, Purdue does now too.
Oh yeah, Purdue's is real nice.
Yeah. I do want to touch on a little bit of their schedule for this upcoming season. I noticed going through all the Big Ten teams, so about half the conference is going to play each other on week 1, opening week. Indiana's one of them. They're going to start at Iowa, so they're going to start out with a pretty tough game. Look to start strong because then they do play Cincinnati in their non-conference schedule, so they got two of the first 3 games are going to be pretty difficult.
So I'm not feeling too scared about that game right now. Yeah. That may come out back to bite me, but I'm more nervous for Notre Dame at this point for Cincinnati.
I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that Cincinnati
Indiana's good, but
I think Cincinnati has a team that can pretty much beat Indiana.
I think you're right.
I don't know I'm not saying like they're for sure going to win, but I think that the two teams line up really well.
On paper, Cincinnati's probably a little bit better.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Plus, I like Luke Fickell in that coaching battle.
Yeah. Few more highlights from their schedule. They do have Ohio State at home. Well, they have Cincinnati at home too. So Cincinnati will have to go to Indiana. But
I
they
believe
do
that's a
have
home
to.
and home. I think eventually Indiana plays at Cincinnati sometime down the road.
I think I do remember seeing that. Finally, their yearly rivalry game against my Purdue Boilermakers. It will be at Ross-Ade Stadium this year at
What do you
Purdue.
got?
The battle for the old Oaken Bucket. I mean, my heart says Purdue, my head says Indiana. So, I mean, what do you want from me? What do you want me? You just want me to say Indiana's going to win? Is that what you want? But yeah, that's all I had on Indiana.
Maybe a little shock them like they shocked Ohio State a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now, is that enough to keep?
At least we've beaten Indiana recently. It's not like Indiana in basketball, where Indiana hasn't beaten Purdue in basketball in like 8 years.
Yeah.
Just I had to get my shot in at IU basketball.
All right. Do you have anything else on Indiana?
Nope.
I think Indiana's pretty cut and dry. They're going to be moving up in the conference. I think. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up.
I think they'll pass Michigan State in the recruiting rankings sometimes this next couple year transition.
Honestly, like I'm really impressed with the Big East. Not the Big East, the Big Ten East. I was going through these teams, and there were so many of these teams that I straight up was like, they aren't bad. Like, there's no reason that pretty much any of these teams shouldn't be competing to at least make a bowl at a minimum. But beyond that, there's some solid teams in here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not so high on Michigan State. Michigan State's probably the one I'm lowest on, honestly.
I go back and forth about it because I like Mel Tucker. I think Mel Tucker was a very intelligent hire for that program. It wasn't the first choice.
Tell me why.
I just think
he was a head coach for 2 years at Colorado. And that's
I know. But I think his demeanor fits Michigan State really well. Because, like, you look at D'Antonio was really kind of under the radar. He was the kind of coach that wasn't very outspoken about a whole lot of things. Yeah. Recruited decently well, but was developing players. And I see that Mel Tucker does that.
I see that he doesn't recruit well.
That's fair. And I think it also makes a difference that, I mean, they're in a very solid division, but they are ahead of 4 other teams in the conference in total. So
you go back the last 5 years in their recruiting classes and their average or their national rank yearly. 5 years ago, they were top 20 in the country in recruiting class. Slowly over the past 5 years, and it's gone even worse, dropping 10 spots, I think, from last year to 44 in the rankings this year.
43rd. But this is only his first year. I think that has to be taken into account.
I
mean, he moved from Colorado. He doesn't have the relationships that you have with all the local coaches. And
exactly.
Like
my
that.
point.
Okay. All right. I will yield to you. I think that there is a chance that they do well, and I think part of that comes from. Their facilities. They have pretty good football facilities.
Yeah.
I would say that their stadium is a little odd. It's on the larger side. Like, it's a bigger stadium, but it's very small on the field. Like, if you've ever watched a game at Michigan State, those players are like this close to the field.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a safety problem. But, I think that their facilities kind of make a difference. I will say that with the Larry Nassar scandal at Michigan State, I think the athletic department there is in a lot of turmoil. And I think that that's kind of what led to the hire of Mel Tucker, because they could have gone out and gotten some high dollar coach because they had the money to do it, but they didn't. Yeah. And I think that that's part of the reason is that they're really trying to run a clean program, which I think D'Antonio did for a long time. So I think that really could hurt them. Like, I have in my notes that they're still finding things that happened while Larry Nassar was there. Like last year in 2019, it was found that MSU has to pay $4.5 million in fines to the federal education department for stuff there. The former president, Lou Anna Simon, was forced to resign, and she was charged with lying to the police on like 3 different counts. Those charges were dropped. But I also think that an advantage is that they're the only Big Ten team besides Ohio State to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you have that history. I personally think that there's going to be an upswing just because looking at Michigan, they seem to be able to beat Michigan every year, even last year. And so if you can beat Michigan, that's really your biggest competition in the East.
So yeah, just beat Michigan every year. Go 2-5 or
and
2
then,
and
yeah.
all right.
Michigan State fans are happy with that.
I don't know. I don't know any Michigan State fans. So
I do. My fiance's family, there's a bunch of them that are Michigan State fans. They're just happy when they can beat Michigan.
Okay.
Sometimes when they beat Ohio State too.
Let's talk about their schedule for this upcoming year. They're another one of the teams that open up against another Big Ten team. They open at Northwestern. So that's going to be a difficult opening game. Non-conference, they do go and play at Miami, the Hurricanes.
Oh, I thought you were saying Miami, Ohio. I'm like,
no,
I'm going to that game.
No. Down in South Florida.
That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, they also play at Ohio State, and then they do play home to Michigan this year. So maybe they can take care of Michigan again.
That's a tough schedule, man. I mean, got. I think Miami's.
I mean, they got a
top.
They 10. Got a pretty good home and away. They get to play Michigan, Maryland, Penn State. They get to play all those guys at home.
Oh,
they got to go. I mean, the Big Ten East is rough, so I guess you can go either way with that. But yeah. Let's look at their schedule. So let's you want to move on to Rutgers?
Yeah, let's
Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights. All right.
I am buying stock in Rutgers.
I don't see any reason not to at this point.
I mean, so they're 5th in the Big Ten East, which is a hell of an improvement from where they were a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
They have 21 commits, 2 4-stars, 18 3-stars. They're nationally ranked 41st, which isn't that high, but it's a far
for Rutgers.
For Rutgers, that is great. They are
as a Purdue fan, I would kill to be 41st ranked.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah. I mean, Greg Schiano just when Greg Schiano is in New Jersey, there's some magic that is happening. Tennessee, you made a mistake.
I don't think they did. I think he only works at Rutgers.
Maybe, but I would have loved to see that happen.
Because he didn't work in the NFL either.
I mean,
he was destined for Rutgers.
I think Rutgers has a solid stadium. I think it's a very nice stadium. It's been relatively recently renovated. But their practice facilities need fucking work. They play in a bubble to practice, like a pop-up bubble that they blow up.
Like UC used to?
Yeah, no, UC still does.
Oh, UC still does that. Okay.
Yeah, UC bought a nicer one though, so nicer than Rutgers. But yeah, they practice in a bubble in the wintertime. Those New Jersey winters are a little rough sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I feel good about Greg Schiano being back at Rutgers. He made life really difficult for Cincinnati when they were in the same conference, and he developed players really well. Recruiting is up significantly. Here's where I put. They were 13th in the Big Ten last year, and 61st nationally in 2020. And for the 2022 recruiting cycle, they're 3rd in the Big Ten, and they're 10th nationally. Granted, that can change. There's a lot that can change between now and December.
A lot will change.
A lot will change. They're not going to finish that high. But starting that high is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting that high, that means you can't go down that much.
Yeah.
So I think that Rutgers is going to be maybe not next year, maybe not the year after, but Rutgers is going to win more games than they have in the past. They could even make a bowl maybe this year.
I think that should be the goal this coming year is go 6-6 and make a bowl.
What's their schedule look like?
All right. They do not open with another Big Ten opponent, so they got a pretty soft open to the season. So they should be able to get out to a 3-0, possibly 2-1. They play Temple at home, then play at Syracuse, which is going to be the more difficult one because we can talk about Syracuse but the other one's Delaware. So the only one they could possibly lose to would be Syracuse.
All right.
I guess Temple could give them a scare, but
I think Delaware could give them a scare. They've always got good quarterbacks.
I've noticed that several of these Big Ten teams scheduled FCS opponents for this coming fall.
I think it's partially because of the financial impact of COVID.
Yeah.
I think a lot of FCS opponents were like, hey, please play us. Yeah. And I think it might be the last year or one of the last years that the Big Ten allows that as well.
Yeah. When we talk about Penn State, they have a really interesting non-conference opponent. But
I'm excited for that then.
We'll talk about that later. So yeah, that was a non-conference schedule. Big games this year. They do get Ohio State at home. I remember they gave Ohio State.
Big Ten just handed them this schedule, man.
Yeah, they do, and then they do play at Michigan and at Penn State.
Okay. Two hard games.
They got a pretty difficult Big Ten West opponents. They do play at Northwestern and against Wisconsin, so they do have to play two of the better teams from the Big Ten West. But yeah, that's their schedule. I think they go 3-0 in their non-conference game. They just have to win 3 of their Big Ten games, and I think that's doable. They did that this year. They won 3. They went 3-6 this year. So
I think that that's very possible. I think even 7-6. 7-6, you are ecstatic if you're running.
Yeah.
6-6 right now is where you want to aim for, but man, that's far improved from the 0 and 1,000 for how many years they were.
How about this, dude? You know who we're talking about next?
Penn State.
Penn State, man. I didn't even know that.
All right,
I just made the reference.
Penn State.
All right. I had them at 22. They had the 22nd ranked class, right?
Yep, 22nd national ranked class. They are the 6th in the Big Ten and the 4th in the Big Ten East. So
that's got to have dropped, right?
Yeah, I think so. But honestly, when you're in the top 6-7 of the Big Ten, it doesn't matter all that much up there. They're
going to be fine.
They're not hurting.
Yeah.
They have 16 commits, which I think is actually where the drop came from, because they didn't have a large number of commits. They had 6 4-stars and 10 3-stars. So it's still a really quality class. It's just smaller.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really like why it's not ranked so high. And I just don't think they needed that many players. So I think that that's really where it comes from. As for what I have on them, their stadium is one of the best in the country. Actually, it's probably like number 1 on my bucket list of stadiums to make it to. I want to go for a whiteout game. That's like a dream of mine.
I feel like every game is a whiteout game there.
Yeah, but like the night whiteout game, that's like the big game of the year, like when they're either playing Ohio State or Michigan or someone big, and it's just like a big deal. And you get those cameras panning across the crowd, and it's thousands of drunk white college kids just like screaming and yelling that they won't have voices tomorrow.
Yeah.
They may not even remember tomorrow. Like that's the kind of environment that COVID deprived me, and I am excited to try to go there. I feel like the Jerry Sandusky scandal really seems to be in the rearview mirror. It's not like it really. They probably
not the first thing. Maybe it
once every time they play, which is pretty far removed from where they were. I think James Franklin is a good coach. I think James Franklin, I think one thing that could hurt Penn State is that James Franklin has been like named for a couple other jobs, or they've been like kind of scouting
He's
him.
been linked.
Yeah, linked to a couple other jobs. So I think that could hurt them. So maybe signing him to like a bigger extension. They have the money to do it. Maybe that helps, because I think James Franklin is a great coach, and honestly, moving forward, he makes a lot of sense for their program. He's done a lot for the program, so
I agree.
There's no reason that they shouldn't sign him to an extension. This last year kind of sucked for them because they started out 0-5.
I was going to talk about that. I think this past season was kind of a blip on the rate. I don't think we should take anything away from that season. I think there's a lot of teams around the country that were affected more behind the scenes than.
Yeah, it's funny because like Penn State went 0-5, but I'm not worried about them. Whereas Michigan had a better record, and I'm slightly more worried about Michigan.
Yeah. Did Michigan have a better record?
Yeah, I think so. Because
Penn State went 4-5.
Michigan won at least 2 games, and Penn State only won 1.
No, they went 4-5.
Penn State did?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought the Big Ten only played 6 games.
Ohio State only played 6 games.
Right.
They were all scheduled to play 8, and then I think Penn State went to a bowl game because there was.
Right. Yeah. No, my bad.
Basically, anybody who won a game was invited to a bowl game. So.
UConn was invited. UConn are the national champions. They didn't lose a game.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at their schedule. I know everybody's been waiting for that tease that I dropped early on who Villanova.
I'm excited.
We need to cut. I just spoiled it. They're playing Villanova. I think that's a pretty interesting matchup. In-state rivalry. Not really, because I don't think they've ever played football against each other before, but
that interests me. I've been following
Villanova's good.
Yeah, Villanova's very good at football. I've been following them. I think in 2009-8 they won a national championship in football.
Something like that.
At the FCS level.
Yeah.
And I actually really think that they make a lot of sense to be potentially in the American Conference. If they ever wanted to move up, I think that they could very quickly compete in that conference. I think would make a lot of sense. Or even the MAC conference. Academically, that would work.
Yeah. They also play, speaking of the MAC, Ball State at home. They have Villanova at home.
That's all right.
Big game. They play at home to Auburn. That'll be their second or third game of the season. That's going
to be interesting.
I don't know. Did I mention
going to Penn State?
I don't think I mentioned that they open at Wisconsin. They're one of the teams
that's rough.
That start the season playing a Big Ten opponent.
To start at Camp Randall.
Yeah. But yeah, that's their non-conference and their opener. They do play at Ohio State, at Wisconsin, and then at Iowa and Michigan at home, Auburn at home. So they got a pretty difficult schedule.
Yeah. I think honestly though, I can see them winning a lot of those games. So
yeah.
So that's an exciting schedule. Yeah, I mean, I feel good about Penn State. Feel pretty good. You want to move on to our next team?
Yeah, let's do it. They're actually the most surprisingly.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked by this team doing so well in recruiting. Is Maryland the Maryland Terrapins? How? How did this
I don't
happen?
understand. I do not get it. They're 18th ranked in the country.
I don't know, man.
They have a 5-star. They have a 5-star. I saw that.
They do, yeah. So they have 1 5-star, 4 4-stars, and 18 3-stars. I think with this class, you get it's the quantity really that gets this. And they have 23 commits. I think that's what brings their composite score so high. That being said, I don't really care. If you have a lot of decent players, you're going to be a decent team.
Yeah. And it shocks me even more when I look at their record over the last 5 years, and it's 2-3, 3-9, 5-7, 4-8. And
yeah. So I have a couple positives about the program. I think their stadium's solid. Just moving forward, the stadium is a decent stadium. It does look a little wonky. Like if you look at it, it's like lopsided.
If you just stare at it for a long time.
Yeah, you like stare at it, you're gonna have questions for the architect. You're gonna be like, why did you do that? I don't get it.
Only you, Cody. I think only you.
It reminds me a little bit of James Madison's stadium, where like one side is really tall and the other side is like a high school stadium, but at least they have a nice press box. That's Maryland Stadium. They have very nice practice facilities that are currently being renovated. They don't have a dollar figure on the renovations yet, but looks like it's going to be a couple million. My biggest detraction from Maryland is Mike Loxley, their head coach. Do you know what his career record is as a head coach?
Not good.
8-43.
Yeah, sounds about right.
He was the head coach at New Mexico for like 3 years, 2.5 years. And after a 0-4 start, they fired him. And that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why they hired him. I don't understand the hire. I think I know it came after that kid dying on the practice field and the fallout from that. I understand that, but you could have hired any MAC coach with a winning record for that program, but somehow he's recruiting well. So
evidently he's doing something right.
Maybe he's found lightning in a bottle and he's gonna have a good season. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we don't really know anything.
I'm not buying or selling stock on Maryland, but
I don't know.
I'm gonna watch it curiously.
I agree.
Like a slow-moving train wreck.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a Formula One car just getting into gear. You never know.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it could be either. Really. This is.
All right. Well, let's take a peek at their schedule. They open home to West Virginia, so a little bit of a difficult start.
Okay, I feel like that would be a little bit of a rivalry.
I know. That's kind of what I thought initially, but I was like, well, maybe not.
I mean, they're geographically pretty close. There's no real roads that take you there, though. So,
yeah. I don't know.
I wonder how many times they've played.
They also play all of their non-conference games are at home. So they play West Virginia, Howard, and Kent State. So I'm pretty sure Howard's a local school. They're in the area somewhere, aren't they?
I don't know.
Say what you were going to say. I'm going to look it up.
Kent State is that's a sneaky program. They are sneaky good. Their offense is out of this world good. For a MAC
team, Cody.
For a MAC program, they're sneaky good. They could have their hands full.
You willing to bet on Kent State to win that game right now?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to bet on Maryland to win.
Okay.
Either.
All right.
I don't think Kent State is going to win, but I don't.
So you're saying you take the points?
Yeah, I'll take the points. Yeah. If it's a 10-point spread, I'll take that. Kent State plus 10.
Howard University is in Washington, D.C., so it is kind of close.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty close game, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. I kind of like how Villanova is playing against Penn State. That's their FC, so they're helping out local, or at least near each other schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
I pulled up the West Virginia versus Maryland Winsipedia page.
Hit me with it.
It is a little bit of a rivalry. They have played all of what is this?
I thought you had it.
Oh, I have it. West Virginia leads the series at 28 wins. Maryland has 22 wins, and they have 2 ties.
So they played like 50 times.
Yeah. 52
Okay.
times. 52 times.
All right. So it's not the most historical storied rivalry.
No, 52 is a pretty good number.
I mean, I think IU and Purdue have played like 150 times or something.
Okay, yeah, but fight me. They're really close and in the same state.
Or what is it? Harvard and I don't know. Harvard and Yale.
Cincinnati and the University of Miami, Ohio have played over 125 times.
Yeah.
Not really. I just pulled that out of my ass. It's not. It's the longest running.
I pulled the Purdue Indiana one out of my ass.
All right, fair enough. Our statistics team is really off today.
All right, finishing up. Who are we on? Maryland.
We're on Maryland. Sorry, everyone.
It's all right. Nobody cares. At Ohio State, that's a big game for them.
Oh yeah, they're gonna lose.
I just put Ohio State on everybody because that's just a big game.
Yeah,
for everybody.
it's the goal marker. It's like this is where we want to be. This is who we need to beat. Like if we only beat this team, our head coach won't get fired this year.
Exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had on Maryland. I think they're on the we already said it. We don't know what the hell's going on there.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Michigan. The Wolverines.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk too much about their current state. We already did a whole podcast on.
Yeah, we did a whole episode.
But we can talk about their recruiting and then their schedule if you want.
So this year they have 23 commits, also a larger number.
Yeah.
One 5-star, 12 4-stars, and 10 3-stars. And they're nationally ranked 10th, which is impressive. Anytime you can pull together a top 10 recruiting class, you should have some at least a 10-11 win team.
Yeah.
They're ranked second in the Big Ten, second in the Big Ten East. Their facilities are fantastic. They're among the best in the Big Ten. I will say their locker room is like very traditional. So I don't think it needs work, but like a certain kind of player is going to want to play in that locker room.
Yeah.
But their actual football ops facility is really nice. The practice fields are really nice. It's a great environment up in Ann Arbor. It's a great place to play.
So have you looked into the 5-star quarterback that they've signed?
No, I didn't go into a deep dive on their actual recruits. You want to talk about them a little bit?
I mean, I think he's probably if he can stay for 3 years and be consistently, I think this might be the guy. That's all I'm going to leave it at right now.
Okay.
But
so maybe this is the turning point.
He's got to stay. He's got to stay, and it's got to work.
Okay.
Their 1 5-star is a quarterback, so.
Hey, that's all you need sometimes.
All right.
I would want the best player on my team to be a quarterback, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Let's take a look at their schedule. They got a pretty easy non-conference schedule. They play 2 MAC teams. They play home to Western Michigan and home to Northern Illinois. But then they also are home to Washington. And I think Washington's on the downward trend right now.
I would say
from where they were a couple years ago.
I think that they're like probably hovering at an upper mid-level Pac-12 team.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan should win that game.
Yes, they should.
So they should be.
If they don't, they're in trouble.
Yes. Especially with at home. All 3 of their non-conference games at home. They do have Ohio State at home this year, which is a big game.
Yeah.
Obviously. They play at Wisconsin. That's another big game. And they play at Michigan State. I feel like Michigan State always plays Ohio State tough, even if they're terrible.
Yep.
But yeah, we've already, like we said before, that we already did a whole podcast on Michigan. So if you really want to hear our thoughts on Michigan, go listen.
Go back and watch. We'd appreciate it. Leave your comments.
Yeah.
Disagree with me.
Yeah. So that leaves just Ohio State left. Final team that we have to touch on.
So I don't need to say a lot about Ohio State, other than Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
5 stars. So I think the rest of the Big Ten had 5 stars.
I think they had 3
E-
or 2.
Well, right now we're just talking about the East. I know in the East they had 2 5 stars, but I think some of the other teams had 5. I know.
I think it was just Maryland and Michigan.
Yeah, you might be right. Let me look it up.
I'm looking it up right now if you just want to continue.
Okay. Well, anyways, what else do I have? All right, 5 stars, 13 4 stars, 3 3 stars. They're nationally ranked second, only behind Alabama. Go figure. They're the first in the Big Ten, first in the Big Ten East. This team is stacked. They, having made the playoffs last year, I see no reason why they shouldn't be just as good. They've lost some pieces. They lost Justin Fields, but I don't think that's really ever been a problem for them in the past 20 years. They just lock and load. It's become next man up. That's what it is there. You know your assignments, you get ready to do them, then you do them.
Yeah.
The facilities are top notch. I would honestly say that Ohio State is the NFLU.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's them. Well, it's them, Alabama, and Clemson right now. Yeah. Those are the NFL minor league teams.
Yep.
I looked it up, and there's 3 other teams that have 1 5-star. So Ohio State has 5, 3 other total in the rest of the Big Ten. Michigan, Wisconsin, Maryland.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
5 to 3 in the rest of the conference. Like to the rich go the spoils, I guess.
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, if you want to look at like average rating, they're 4 points higher on the average rating than second place. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, and like Michigan is ranked second with 23 recruits. Ohio State only has 21.
Yeah,
so
and they're still
It's just so impressive.
Let's take a look at their schedule for this upcoming season. They're another one of the Big Ten teams that opens with another Big Ten team. So they play at Minnesota. So that's an exciting opening game.
I like Minnesota's gotten two games at home to start the season in a row. They started with Michigan at home last year.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun game. I like watching games at Minnesota. They're a fun team to watch at home.
I love the burgundy and gold uniforms.
It's such a good color combination.
Yeah. They're non-conference opponents. They do have a big one. They play home to Oregon. That'll be their second game of the season.
Yeah, they were supposed to play at Oregon last year.
Yep. So they're playing home to Oregon, and they are home to Tulsa, Cody's hated rival from the old NCAA 14 days.
I actually hate them in real life
because of that.
No, not because of that. I shouldn't say hate, because I actually think they're a pretty cool team. I just don't like their fans because.
And why are they called the Golden Hurricane when they're in Oklahoma?
I'm not gonna get into that. But last year, their fans were really salty when their first game against UC got canceled. Because of COVID reasons with UC. They pulled the whole, UC's afraid to play us, and all this. Sorry, we're talking about the Big Ten, but I just no one's going to cancel a game because they're afraid to play you.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
No one's afraid to play you, Tulsa, besides me and NCAA 14.
It ties it all back together. Final non-conference game for Ohio State is home to Akron, and Akron's like the second worst team in the entirety of the NCAA. So
I think they're probably worse than most of the teams in the FCS.
Probably, honestly. So that final score will probably be something crazy, like 94-2 or something. I don't know.
94-0.
2. No, I'm giving Akron a safety. Early in the game. No, here's how it's going to go. Early in the game, they get a safety. Everybody goes crazy. They're up 2-0, and then it's 94 on an extra point.
Okay, yeah, all right, that sounds good. What's the spread?
Minus 62.5, probably.
I'm taking Ohio State.
Yeah,
I'm taking Ohio State.
It's definitely going to be something absurd like that.
I'm taking Ohio State minus the points in that game.
It's probably realistically going to be like minus 40 or something like that. Yeah. But still, that's insane.
If it's 40, And that's an easy $30 victory. Like I'm betting $40 on that game if it's minus 40.
Yeah. Their big games this fall are going to be the Oregon game. Like I said, they'll have that at home. They do play at Indiana, and they play at Michigan, of course. But then their biggest one of the season, their hated enemies, the thorn in their side, they're hosting Purdue. I think.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's big. Ohio State doesn't really need too much talking about, more than what we've already done. So.
All right. Dan, do you have anything that you want to say on the Big Ten East or the Big Ten in general now that we've gotten through both conferences?
I already knew it going in, but after taking a detailed look at it, the East is so much better than the West.
It really feels like all the teams in the East just have such a leg up on the teams in the West. And I have my own theories about why that is. Like, one, I think the East has all of the cities are kind of in better locations than the West.
Man, you've never been to West Lafayette.
I don't think I want to go to West Lafayette.
Oh, come on, man.
I'd rather go to Ann Arbor. I'd rather go to Columbus.
Your point's made.
I'd rather go to East Rutherford, New Jersey.
You'd rather go to New Jersey, really.
Jersey West Shore, bro. GTL.
All right, we need to end this conversation.
Am I making you upset?
A little bit.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. Like and comment on the video below. Subscribe if you like our stuff. Let us know your opinion. Tell us if we're full of shit. We'd love to hear it. And then
definitely are.
About it. We'll talk about your comments if someone would comment.
Yeah. My dad's the only one that does.
Yeah. Shout out to Papa Surface commenting. We really appreciate it.
I really only say the amount of Purdue shit I do for him. Like that's.
But it's appreciated, you know. It makes me smile when I see him comment on there. So I'm excited to start introducing our thoughts to more people.
Yeah.
So if you all could like and share, that'd be really helpful. Have a nice day.
Bye.